Chapter 32 of the book of Genesis, the Bible records a time when Jacob fought with God in Jabok's vow. But many people have difficulty understanding what was the purpose of this fight of Jacob with God. Even some people are in doubt whether Jacob fought even with God or if he just fought with an angel, or if this fight of Jacob should be interpreted literally or just symbolic. But in this video, we will analyze, in the light of the Bible, what the meaning of Jacob fought with God. Genesis 32 talks about the episode in which Jacob crossed Jabok's vow with his family. He had left his father-in-law's house, Laban, and was going to meet his brother with Esau. Jacob had not had more contact with Esau since he had received the blessing of the firstborn instead. After he deceived Isaac and received the blessing instead of Esau, Jacob fled to escape his brother's wrath and ended up in the Padan Aram region, working for his uncle and father of his wives, Leah and Rachel. Then, after several years, Jacob decided to leave Padan Aram and return to Canaan again. And it was on this path of reunion that Jacob's significant struggle with God happened. Jacob crossed his family from a shallow place from Rio de Jabok, and then stayed there alone. So, basically, the biblical text says that Jacob fought with a man who appeared there. This struggle lasted until dawn. The man wanted to leave, but Jacob didn't want to let him go. But when the man saw that he could not master Jacob, he touched the juncture of his thigh. That is, he wounded Jacob in the articulation of his leg at the thigh. And as a result, Jacob had his thighs shifted as he fought with that man. Then when the man insisted on leaving because the day was already emerging, Jacob told him. Then the man asked Jacob what his name was. In the face of Jacob's response, he changed his name to Jacob to Israel. And here comes an inevitable question. Who was the opponent of Jacob in that fight? Was it an angel? Or was it God himself? Well, the truth is that the writer of Genesis simply says that Jacob fought with a man. But of course, this man was very special. He was someone able to bless and change Jacob's name. So there are two main interpretations about this episode. An interpretation says that Jacob fought with an angel sent by God. This means that this man was an angel who extraordinarily appeared to Jacob in body form, since the Bible speaks of angels as incorporeal beings. But this interpretation does not harmonize well with the biblical text, and do not explain the meaning of the name Israel. This then leads us to another interpretation that says Jacob fought with God. This interpretation harmonizes better with the biblical text because the identity of the mysterious man who fought with Jacob is implicitly revealed in the blessing received by him. This is because when Jacob had his name changed, he heard the following words: "You will not call you Jacob, but Israel. For as prince you struggled with God and men and prevailed." After that, in Genesis chapter 32 and verse 29, Jacob asked the name of that man, but he simply answered him, "Why questions by my name?" And then the biblical text informs that Jacob was blessed there. Any uncertainty about the identity of the man who had fought with him and the blessed of his brother. In the vigor of his age, he fought with God. He fought with an angel and prevailed. Oh. Therefore, the angel who fought with Jacob was the angel of the Lord. That is, it was the pre-entrenched God himself. This means that in that episode there was what in theology is called theophany, which means a visible manifestation of God himself in Old Testament times. But in the face of this biblical truth, should we understand Jacob's struggle with God in a symbolic or literal way? Well, a lot of speculation has already been done about the nature of this fight of Jacob with God in Val de Jabok. Some scholars suggest that the fight was not literal but symbolic. Supposedly, Jacob would have fought all night in cry and prayer. But the problem is that there is no symbolic features in the biblical text that records this episode. The description of Jacob's struggle with God is inserted in a text that describes a historical event. Therefore, many Old Testament scholars believe that the best interpretation of the biblical text at this point is certainly the one that states that Jacob, in fact, he fought physically with God. This means that, on an extraordinary and decisive occasion within the history of redemption, in the Jabok, that God manifested himself visibly and tangible, and fought with Jacob and blessed him. Therefore, we can surely understand that this struggle of Jacob with God had a really deep meaning. Even the Hebrew text suggests that it was God who began the struggle with Jacob. And the only explanation for this is that God, in a pre-enclosed manifestation, adjusted his strength to Jacob and fought with him. And that explains why Jacob prevailed in the fight. In fact, the biblical writer reports that Jacob prevailed until his thigh was shifted. At that moment, he lost the equilibrium point of his strength. He lost his stability. And from there, every step of Jacob would be a reminder of his dependence on divine grace. And this is in accordance with the fact that when God asked him his name, he promptly answered, "My name is Jacob." This time, he did not try to be a deceiver as he had done with his father when he said he was Exu. Before the angel of the Lord, Jacob acknowledged to be a deceiver and confessed his sin. It was there that Jacob truly had a meeting with God. He did not only have his name changed, but had his life transformed. In fighting God, Jacob did not prevail for his strength, his ability, or any of his skills. Jacob fought with God and prevailed for his weakness, his sincerity, his contrition, his breaking, and his humility. And from there, he was no longer Jacob and became